exactly how all of this came to light. A woman reported to police that who she thought was a real dentist fondled her during her appointment, and that led to this investigation and this entire bust. Two fake dentists accused of practicing unlicensed for years.
Bad look for the industry as a whole, but it's also terrible that it became this big news story.
They're actually like sexually assaulting patients, taking advantage of people because they know they're not going to report it.
Do you feel like people are doing their best naturally, or are people naturally not doing their best? I think it has to be self-defined.
Humans as a whole, we usually need an outside moral fact, like something pushing us to do what is our best. Some people have religion, God, other people are like role models, things like that, or mentors. If there's no boundaries on people, I think that people tend to regress, not do good things. I heard Steve, the CEO of Pacific Dental, talk about integrated healthcare. And he was talking about like the total body experience from a healthcare perspective, where we're not just focusing on the mouth, we're focusing on the whole body. I've heard it a lot, but nobody's really done it. This is Memorial, which is a big organization, but they have a location in Southern California. And then this is really cool.
I don't know, dental is not the type of thing that you just retrofit into an existing facility. For most facility, a large portion of our population loses private insurance.
Welcome back to another episode of Dental Rift. I'm your twinsy co-host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want.
I may be Tanner Applegate. You can't really tell based off just looking at us, but I am the CEO and founder of Unified Dental. We are a password management specific for dental to solve the password epidemic.
All right, so we got two really, really cool subjects. So first, I got one about fake dentist. This is absolutely insane, this story. I've never seen anything like this, Tanner. And then number two is about Pacific Dental opening up the first ever dental health center. We've been hearing it a long time about integrated healthcare. They actually did it. They actually have something, a working model. So which one do you want to tackle first?
Let's hear about your fake dentist.
All right, here we go.
That's exactly how all of this came to light. A woman reported to police that who she thought was a real dentist fondled her during her appointment, and that led to this investigation and this entire bust. Two fake dentists accused of practicing unlicensed for years.
Just saw four cops coming out the suite from the back, and basically, yeah, they arrested some guy.
Fernando was at work in this West Houston office building when police arrested Alberto Flores and Jose Uzeta from their suite. Fernando says he saw a lot of people in and out of that suite over time that's now locked and empty, with an envelope from the building taped to the door.
It actually is kind of weird because they did have a window, but they had it covered.
So they had a window at one point, but then a wall went up?
Yeah, exactly.
Records show that police were there because a woman reported that Uzeta, who she believed was a legitimate dentist, groped and fondled her.
Even though there were dentists over there. So it actually just surprised me that they did stuff inappropriate here in the same building that I work for.
It's really heinous behavior, really preying on the underserved in Harris County that are less likely to report these kinds of things to authorities.
Michael Haddad is prosecuting the case. He says these fake dentists likely target specific victims.
They may not have insurance, they may not be citizens, they may not want to even report these kinds of things to police because they don't know what will happen to them.
He says the suspects admit to meeting in dental school in Mexico, then came here. Flores admitting to practicing in Harris County for 5 years. Uzeta practicing for more than 20.
You don't know if you're actually safe.
Haddad is encouraging any other victims to come forward.
We do know that all of their clients were referrals, so there could possibly be hundreds. We don't know.
A big thing here, if you're getting any...
Yeah. Bro, I haven't seen anything like that has multiple layers to it. What are your thoughts on that?
It makes me sick. It makes yeah. That's my quick summary of it. It's a bad look for the industry as a whole, but it's also terrible that it became this big news story.
Hey, Happy New Year, and thanks so much for listening to the podcast. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got something really, really important to share with you that's going to bring massive impact to your practice. So every year, things change in your market. Every single year, people move, incomes change, populations change, and it's really important that you stay up to date with that. And one of the things that we offer to all of our customers, and we want to offer it to all of our listeners completely for free, is mapping out your new patients. So we're not going to only show you where your new patients are coming from on a map, just like this above, but we're also going to show you the income areas that they're coming from, the different pockets of income, as well as the populations to make sure that you have supporting areas to where you can attract more new patients. And lastly, we're going to map out all of your competition for you for free. This is 100% for free, no obligation. And we're really excited to share this with all of our listeners. So all you have to do is go to maps.smcnational.com And it's first come, first serve. We're not going to offer this forever. So if you want to get this, get in now. Get all your new patients mapped out for the new year. We're looking forward to talking to you soon. Thanks. Yeah, and then the other thing is it's one thing to, okay, I'm a dentist. I'm in Mexico and I move here and I'm practicing and I shouldn't. That's a problem in itself. But then to take it even further, they're actually like sexually assaulting patients on top of that because they know they're not going to report it. So they're like taking advantage of people, right, because they know they're not going to report it.
Yeah, there's mentally a lot going on there that need to be resolved that we couldn't even really begin to touch.
Crazy. All right, well, let's talk about Pacific Dental. So many years ago.
Before we go into Pacific, I want to piggyback off of this conversation that we just had. I've asked my wife this a lot, and I'm curious now your opinion. Do you feel like people are doing their best naturally, or are people naturally not doing their best?
Define best.
I think it has to be self-defined.
So are we talking like morally they're doing their best? Or are we talking like, are they doing their best with like work stuff? Like what do you mean doing their best?
Everything, right?
Everything?
Are they doing their best morally, right? Are they doing their best with their work stuff? Are they doing, and best is like, yes, it's a qualifier, and qualifiers exist in like every aspect of life. So yes, it's a very complex question, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think that humans as a whole, we usually need an outside moral fact, like something pushing us to do what is our best or to level up. Usually that's like a parent. Some people have religion, God. Other people are like, they're role models, things like that, or mentors. But something from the outside pushing us and having that boundary. Otherwise, if there's no boundaries on people, I think that people tend to regress and go backwards and not do good things, do bad things.
Yeah, it's a complex question. I mean, it's one that like a lot of the stemming is that, like, for example, people that grow up in a terrible environment or are neglectful parents or do these things, right? Are they doing their best? Well, it could be argued definitely not, right? They're doing bad things. In this example, these guys are doing bad things, but it also could be argued that the hand that they've been dealt is in such a way that like they've felt like this was okay morally, or they felt like these things were there. And so like, yes, their best is terrible, but they are still doing their best. So anyways, this is very theological in nature, but yeah. I'm very much of the mindset that, and I think this gets me in trouble a lot of ways, that I think that people are constantly doing their best. So I argue for the benefit of the doubt more than I should probably, but my wife is very much that people know consciously that they can be doing better, or they should be doing better, and they choose not to.
Yep. I agree with you. I fall more on the side of your wife. It's like, again, if you look at a little kid, it's different. But if you're looking at adults like these guys, they knew that they were not supposed to sexually assault people. They knew that. They also knew that they weren't supposed to practice here in the U.S. They chose to come here illegally. They could have taken some other channels to practice here in the U.S. They didn't. They could have stayed in Mexico and practiced. They didn't. So they had options, and they chose not to exercise. They chose not to exercise those options, and no matter how you slice it, when you're a medical professional, you know what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do with your license. Like, you know that better than anything.
They don't have, so they don't know that.
Well, no, they had one in Mexico.
That's true.
Yeah, they had one in Mexico, and there's rules in Mexico, right? Like, you know that you're not allowed to come to the U.S. and practice. They knew that. And then they knew, as humans, we know we're not supposed to hurt people that way. But we do it anyways. And then people justify it. You know what I mean? They justify it and they say, oh yeah, it's okay. But later on, when you actually talk through it, everybody knows. You never meet somebody who's like, oh yeah, I thought it was okay to sexually assault this person. No one feels that way. So they definitely weren't doing their best from that standpoint. Yeah. That's why people come here, though, for the hard-hitting moral conversations around this kind of stuff. Okay, so let's talk about Pacific Dental. So a long time ago, I went to an event in Orlando many, many years ago, before COVID. And I heard Steve, the CEO of Pacific Dental, talk about integrated healthcare. And he was talking about like the total body experience from a healthcare perspective, where we're not just focusing on the mouth, we're focusing on the whole body. It's all connected. We don't want this separated, like the dentist is doing this, the physician's doing this. And like, I've heard it a lot, but nobody's really done it. Well, Pacific Dental just recently opened up their first practice that has a dental clinic as well as a medical clinic rolled up into one place, and it's all working. It's supposed to be all working together. I haven't been there yet. I'm very curious to see like how that works, but it's in California, so I might actually go check it out. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I think this is pretty cool, or it could be. It has the potential to be cool.
Yeah, I'm going to take it from an operational perspective. One thing you said is that nobody's done this yet. The reality is that there are quite a few models that have done this, where they bring in dental and medical together. But the difference, though, what makes this one unique is that the challenges with those is that because of the differences in specialty that they're running through these practices, they usually have a distinction in operationally and how things are done, right? So they have a PMS for this, a PMS for that, and a PMS, right? When you get into medical, it's not called PMS, but for our audience, we'll just use the word PMS. And so what ends up happening is like you're essentially creating different businesses all under the same umbrella. And so the whole goal is like, hey, we want to be able to create bigger collaboration between the physicians and the dentists. Well, you can't really do that when like the physician doesn't have access to the dental person's notes because they're completely different platforms, right? Yep. But what's unique about this one is that PDS, granted, I mean, besides the fact that they're one of the largest DSOs, and this could be a scale to a huge model, they've co-located them, and they're also running under the same ERP, which is Epic, right? So they are, I think, the only one that I know currently that is a dental first business on a medical first technology software platform, right?
Yep.
And so the fact that they're both on Epic in healthcare, this happens all the time, right? These specialties will go in and interact with each other. They'll be able to read each other's notes. They'll be able to collaborate on the same patient. But dental has always existed outside of that information, so that collaboration hasn't existed. I'm excited to see what they do because of the fact that they're all in the same system. They will be able to do an exchange of information a lot more smoothly, and therefore it'll streamline things like operations and billing and such that haven't been done before. And it could actually create a very positive patient experience, unlike what's happening right now in the quasi medical dental facilities.
Yeah, check this out. So this is Memorial, which is a big organization, but they have a location in Southern California. And then this is really cool what Pacific did. So they then created their normal website. So this looks just like a Pacific Dental website. However, it says at Memorial Care. So it's like part of that facility. And then they're going to build out what I envision them potentially doing is building out this relationship, making it work operationally. That's the key, what you just talked about. Then expanding that and just saying, okay, cool, we're going to open up dental practices in every Memorial, which is huge from a growth standpoint. That changes the game, right?
What was interesting, though, to me, though, on the article that I read about it was that they announced this last December, and they had to go and build a brand new facility and everything out for this. I don't know. Dental is not the type of thing that you just retrofit into an existing facility for most facilities, right? And so they went through on this first model, they went through and built it from the ground up on both of them. And so I'd be interested to see how much of the opportunity is there to retrofit versus going in and having to like start over with this growth model for what they build going forward.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting. What do you think? How do you think this impacts dental? Like how if you owned 5 practices right now, would you just be like, whatever, this is something Pacific's doing, nothing to really think about? Or, hey, this is something that we need to start really thinking through?
No, I think this is something that right now I wouldn't be concerned about. There's going to, the shift to medical integration is happening. The timeline of it, though, is such a way that people that are in it today, you'll be able to continue doing your current model for a long period of time. It's not like all of a sudden people are going to just stop going to your dentist and your revenue is going to completely like fall off a cliff, right? There's a longevity associated with this of what it's going to take for society to change over to this. I think that you've got plenty of time to watch out and just pay attention to it. But yeah, I don't think that it's going to make an immediate effect or impact right away. Where I do think that there's a potential to make effect and impact, and we'll talk about this later, is as the boomers start retiring, and getting on Medicare, there's a lot of push for Medicare to start covering dental benefits. Right. So what happens in that place whenever like the majority, a large portion of our population loses private insurance and is now having to go in and figure out dental insurance for themselves. So to me, I think that's got a bigger impact on the day-to-day, I mean, to the individual dentist than this medical health model right now that PDS is doing.
Totally agree. All right. I'm looking forward to that. I think we should do a whole episode just around that, Tanner, of what's the future look like with baby boomers and how that impacts insurance, how that impacts, there's 10,000 baby boomers retiring a day. There's not enough dentists to do all the full arch and all the technical treatments that these patients need. And they're living longer, right? They're living longer, but not necessarily living healthier, but they're living longer, right? People are living longer. And like, I know that recently expected life has dropped a little bit, but it's very small. Overall, people are taking a lot of pills, a lot of drugs, and extending their life. And that means there's going to need more medical care for these folks, more facilities, more dental, all that kind of stuff. So very interesting times before us. We'll do a whole episode around that.
All right.
Cool,
Talk
man.
to you
Peace.
soon.